Hi folks, I'm Heidi from Hands Occupied and I'm here today with a knitting stitch tutorial for you. This stitch right here is called the Dimple Stitch and I think you can see why. It is so cute with all these little dimples across the surface of the fabric. So I'm going to walk you through how to knit this stitch and it's really fun and it gives such cool texture to your knitting. So let's get started. Right here, you're looking at a swatch of what's called the dimple stitch. All across, staggered along the right side of the fabric, are these triangle or heart-shaped indentations, or dimples, which is where the stitch, of course, gets its name. This is the wrong side of the swatch, and you can see this honeycomb effect going on. And you could sure, if you wanted to do so, use this as the right side of your work, but for the purposes of demonstration, I am going to call this the right side of our swatch, and this the wrong side. So let's dig into how to knit this. The dimple stitch has a 16 row repeat, so I'm going to be using time lapse a lot in this video. Beginning with the cast on, we're going to be doing a multiple of 6 stitches plus 5. So let's do 6 times 2, which is 12, plus 5, which is 17. Now row 1 is a right side row for the dimple stitch, and all we've got to do is knit all the way across. Okay, that's row 1. Now we're turning to our wrong side row for row 2. We're going to bring our working yarn to the back. Please note that I knit continental style. All right, for row 2, we're going to start out by knitting 1 stitch. And this is a wrong side row, so we're going to knit 1. And now we're going to bring the working yarn to the front, so toward our body, and we're going to slip the next 3 stitches. I'm dropping my working yarn so you guys can see what I'm doing here. So the working yarn is at the front, and now we're going to slip the next 3 stitches purlwise with the yarn in front. And in knitting, when it says to slip a stitch, you can assume it's purlwise unless otherwise noted, okay? Always check your pattern notes. All right, so we just slipped 3 stitches with our working yarn in front. Now we're going to purl 3 stitches. And so our working yarn is towards us where it needs to be. And now being careful not to pull our tension too tight on those slipped stitches, we're going to purl the next 3. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, 3. And now we're going to repeat that, slipping 3 in with yarn in front. 1, 2, 3. And I didn't drop my working yarn this time because it also helps me keep the tension I'm going for. We don't want to be too tight or too loose with this strand here because we'll end up with puckering that we don't actually want. All right. Now we're going to purl the next 3. And now we are going to end the last repeat by slipping 3 stitches with our yarn in front, and we need 1 last stitch to anchor that slipped strand to, so we're going to end on a knit 1. Now for row 3, we're back on the right side and we're going to begin by knitting 1 stitch. And now we are going to, with our working yarn in the back, slip the next 3 stitches. So we're slipping the same 3 stitches that we slipped in the previous row. And now we're going to knit 3. And just like before, we're going to do that 6 stitch repeat. So we're going to slip 3 stitches with the yarn in back and knit 3. And then the last repeat of that will be slip 3 with the yarn in back and knit 1 at the end to anchor that slip stitch set. Now row 4 is the same as row 2. Knit 1, working yarn towards us so we can slip the next 3 with our working yarn in front. Still with our working yarn in front, we purl the next 3, and then we slip the next 3 with that yarn towards us, purl 3, and then we end slip, slip, slip with that yarn in front, bring the working yarn between our needles so we can finish with a knit 1. There we go. And that's the wrong side. Now we turn to the right side and we are ready for row 5, which is simply knit all the way across. Yay! And that will ease the literal tension pulling up those slip stitches we have been carrying in those previous 3 rows. All right, now for row 6, we turn to the wrong side and purl all the way across. All right, and now row 7 again, we knit all the way across. So 5, 6, and 7 are just 3 rows of plain stockinette stitch. All right, and now row 8 is one of those rows in a stitch pattern where things get exciting, or at least in the kind of stitch patterns I tend to like on this channel. All right, so row 8, an even number row, so we know that's a wrong side row. We're going to start with knit 1, purl 1, easy enough. Knit 1 and purl 1. All right, now we are going to need to insert our working needle from below, so that means from the cast on edge of our work. So we're going to insert our working needle, in my case the right hand needle, from below under the 3 strands of slip stitches. Okay, so let's do that. We're going to bring this tip, and we're on the wrong side. We're going to bring the tip of our working needle under these 3 strands. And now what we're going to do is knit the next stitch, which brings the stitch out underneath these strands. So let's break that down. So we're inserting our needle in that next stitch, and we've already gone from below underneath these 3 strands. So I'm going to knit this loop and sweep it off my left hand needle. Now it's on my working needle while we've got a truck backing up in the background. And now we're going to sweep this knit stitch we just did under those 3 strands, okay? And now we bring our working yarn between our needles and towards us, because we're going to purl 5. And then we're going to do that pickup thingy again. 1, 2, purl 3, purl 4, purl 5. All right, now we're going to take the tip of our working needle from below under the 3 strands that we slipped before, insert our tip into the next stitch and knit it, sweeping it off, draw the loop under our 3 strands. Now working yarn between our needles, purl 5. Now I need to insert my needle one more time because I've got 3 more strands. Knit, sweep the loop off, bring it under that whole mess, and then we end row 8 with a purl 1 and knit 1. And so row 8 and then 16, which will be very similar to row 8, just placed differently, are where the exciting bits happen in the dimple stitch on the wrong side. All right, now let's repeat our dimplin'. Okay, row 9, just like row 1, is knit all the way across. And then the next few rows after this are where we set up those slip stitches and then a few rows of stockinette before we pick up our stitches to create our dimples, and then we'll have our 16 row repeat. Now row 10, which is the same as row 12, will be knit 1, purl 3. So we're purling the 3 stitches that had the slip stitches before, all right? Now we're going to slip the next 3 stitches with the yarn in front towards us, purl 3, slip 3, and then we'll end with purl 3, knit 1. All right, row 11, a right side row. We start out by knitting 4, And now we will slip 3 with our yarn and back, knit 3, slip 3 with our yarn and back, knit 3, and then we end with a knit 1. All right, row 12, same as row 10. And this will be our last slip stitch row. Knit 1, purl 3, slip 3 with the yarn in front, purl 3, slip 3 with the yarn in front, purl 3, knit 1 to end it. All right, now we get to row 13, 14, 15, which is some good old stockinette stitch. Now we've turned the wrong side to work row 16. We're going to knit 1 and purl 4 to begin. Now we're going to insert our working needle from below, just like before, under the next 3 strands, and just like before, we're going to knit the next stitch, sweep it under, and then purl 5. It's kind of fun, actually. Now again, working needle under, 1, 2, 3, trying not to split anything, 1, 2, 3, knit the next stitch, sweep that under, and then we end this last repeat by purling until the last stitch, which is knit. Ta-da! Now, with just one repeat of this 16 row repeat, it's kind of hard to see the full effect, except for maybe like right here. So, and this right here again is the larger swatch of the dimple stitch. This is the right side as written, although you can sure make it the wrong side if you really prefer the honeycomb effect with all of this lovely diamond shaped texture on the wrong side or the right side. It's all relative. And that was how to work the dimple stitch. This very appropriately named stitch has such a great right and wrong side that you can use in different ways to accomplish different things in your knitting. If you liked what you saw, go ahead and give us a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button for even more video tutorials, and let us know if you have any questions. I've been Heidi, thanks for watching.